Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I teach you how to create a live search system for your website. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That'll be awesome. And if you can support me on Patreon, that'll be awesome as well. Okay, so we're going to create a live search system where we're going to use JavaScript as to make it live so that while we type, we get results. And then we're going to use PHP to actually connect to the database and retrieve some data. So let's see how we can go about doing that. So what you need for this to work is you need a server of some kind. If you have a server, then that's good. If you don't have one, just download XAMPP. It's free. Install it and then open the control panel and run Apache and MySQL by clicking these two buttons here. If you're done, open your browser, navigate to localhost/search, and you will get page not found, I'm sure. And once you're there, then we're good to go. And then find a text editor of your choice, and mine is Sublime Text, but you can pretty much use any basic text editor here. So what I will do is go to drive C. This is where I installed my XAMPP. So you go to drive C, XAMPP, htdocs, and create a folder called search. Then drag and drop the folder in here, in your text editor. Now, if you're using a different server, the folder is going to be not htdocs, but probably www folder. That's the one where you create the folder. And if you can't drag and drop your folder in your text editor, that's okay. When I create a file here, you can just create the file on the inside the folder itself. Okay, so let's begin here. I'm going to create two files. This one will be the index page, which will be used for searching. So let me name this one as index.php. And then the second one is going to be let's say result or info.php. The names don't really matter. So what I want in this index is to create some HTML. So I will give it a title of find, and then here I will add some styling so we can style this part. So I want to add a font family for the whole website of Tahoma, because I know everybody has that. And I'll put a font size of 14 pixels. That will be the best font size. And what else? I think that does it for everything. And then I want to style a form as well. Yeah, form like this. I'll give this one a margin of auto so that it goes to the center. But for it to go to the center, it must have a fixed width. So let's add a width of 400 pixels. Let's also add some padding so that things are not so close to the edge. 10 pixels should be fine. And then let's add a margin on the top so that we have some space on the top. I'll put 30 pixels. And what else? Let's add a box shadow so that we can actually see this thing. 0 pixel, 0 pixel, blurriness at 10 pixel, and a light gray for the color. Let's add a border radius so that we have rounded corners. So I'll say border radius of 10 pixels. Okay, that should do for now. Let me go down here and create the form. So there's no need to put a method here because we'll be using JavaScript to read data anyway. So here I will add an input of type text. I don't really need a name for it. What I need is a class so I can read it from my JavaScript. So I'll just name it JS, I don't know, search, something like that. And I'll put a break tag here and put a div. So we don't really need a send button because we will not be clicking any send buttons here. This will be done automatically. So class results like that. Let me put JS here just so that we know we are using this to read from the JavaScript. Okay, that should do actually. Let me put results here and then JS results. Really, it's redundant, but I think it's more organized. So this is used for getting it using JavaScript. This is used for styling. Yeah. So what I will do here is, let me save this so that we can see what we have. So if you come back here and navigate to localhost/search, refresh, you should have that. Okay, great. So let's add a few more things. Let me add an h3 tag here with the title of search. Let me add a few break tags at the end here so we have some space at the bottom. That should do fine. Refresh. There we go. Then let me, I've zoomed this in a bit. So let me style this a bit better. Let me put 300 pixels. We don't need that many pixels there. And then what I will do is style the search now. I'll put dot search because it's a class. I'll say width, that's 300 pixels, so I'll just put 280 pixels. And then I'll do, what else do I do here? Some padding, 10 pixels. Now keep in mind that any padding in here has an effect on its width. So since it's padding 20, I think let me put 60 here so that we have enough space. And then what else? Border radius as well, so that we have those rounded corners. And then let me remove the border itself. I'll just say border none, or I can just say solid thin EEE, something like that, very light gray, and then remove the outline completely, none. Okay, so let's see what we've got. This is what we've got. I think this can be darker. Let me put AAA, like so. Okay, so let me increase the width a little bit. It's looking weird. Let's put 70 there. See if that's good enough. No, I think 80 was okay. Great. Now I just need to style that box here, which shows us the results, right? So that one is called results, unsurprisingly, like so. Don't forget the dot there. So let's get most of the stuff here. Width, padding, though the padding here, maybe we should do padding top and bottom, like this. Yes, maybe 4 pixels. The width is okay. Border, we don't really need a border radius, do we? No, I don't think so. Maybe we do, just 2 pixels or something. And then in here, what I want is to add a div as a placeholder for some result. So let's see, the result is John. We're looking for names in here. So let me refresh. And this is what we see. So not really what I was looking for. Let's see the width here. Let's just say 100%. Oh, wait. I think I know why this is like this. Yes, 100%. Okay, so it's gone all the way there. So maybe the border radius should go back to 10. I think it will make more sense. Like that. I think also the padding should have been left like that. Yeah, see, I'm going back to what I had done here. My bad. Let me put that back. And obviously something wrong. Still, the width is not correct. This is a delicate operation. Wow, it goes right over the number there and goes right back. Something like that. Anyway, you can fiddle with this thing and figure out what the right values are. Hopefully you can. Okay, so at this point, we want to be able to type here and then get a list of results here. So let me duplicate this a few times. Mary, like so. Okay, so I can see what's going on there. So there's Mary, there's John. So I want to be able to hover on these guys. So what I will do is do this. I'll say results. I'll say dot results and div. So whatever div is in the results will have this. So say background color here. I want to have a light blue. So say blue like this, and then the color should be white like this. Let's refresh, and there we go. So now let me inspect the element and change the color here to something more, yes, more appealing. Well, what happened? I had the color right there. Okay, there we go. So I like that better. And let me put that here. So what I want to do is put this on the hover like so. Okay, so refresh, and if I hover on these, surprisingly, results div hover, what's going on? Yeah, this should actually work, but it doesn't seem to be working. How about that? Let's see this here. Wow, it's not completely not working. So let's try and put a class of its own here. Let me just put res there like so and do this. Oh, I think I know where the problem is. Maybe the space here is the problem. So let's see. Yeah, that was the problem. Okay, so there we go. And now we can click on one of these, because let me also put cursor there and say pointer. That way we get a hand when we go through this. Okay, so all this stuff is done now. Let's go to the technical part, which is the fun part. Let's put autofocus on this one so it can focus immediately. And then let's put a placeholder as well. Say type something to find. Okay, great. Type something to find. So what we want is, as we type, results are coming in. Okay, awesome. So let's do the JavaScript. Now for the JavaScript, what we need is, let's go down here and add some JS. So let's put a script tag so we can do that. And what I want here is a function to bring back the data. So I'll just say get data, like so. Now getting data using AJAX is very simple. So let me show you how to do that. So the first thing you have to do is create a variable. I don't know, you can use const like this because memory and stuff, but hey, I'm old-fashioned. So var AJAX is equal to, let's say, new XML. So we are creating an XML AJAX object here. This is what is used to read data from the server side using JavaScript. So this is what we're going to call it. We're going to call it AJAX. This is just a variable, so you can call it anything you want. But just make sure you get the capitalization here correct, otherwise it won't work. So once we have that, we can do two things. We can say ajax.open and then ajax.send. It's as simple as this. So you open the port, but you need to add a few parameters here. You tell it what method you're going to use to send the data. So here we can use anything. I'm just going to use the post like so. And then on the other side, we need a file that we can we can retrieve data from. That's the PHP file that's going to connect to the database. Now, if you leave this with an empty string like this, it's going to read the same file. So you can put your PHP at the top here and then just put die or exit at the end to make sure it doesn't bring back this here. but I much rather send get the information from a separate file. So that's what we're going to do. We'll call it api.php, and then let's put true here to make sure the interface doesn't freeze while we're reading data, because we need to be able to type. So send, we're going to send some data. So we don't have that data yet. Let's create it. So to create the data, let's do it up here. So I just want to grab this this item here. So where is this? This one here, search JS search, because that's the one that contains our text. So I'm just going to say var text is equal to document dot query selector, and we want to select that item using its class. So put a dot there and put the class name. So once we have it, we have the text, but this is not the text. This is the control itself. So let's just say dot value there so that we get its value and put it in the text. And then once we get there, we can save this as data. We can send the text directly like that, but it's better to be a little bit more organized than this, because what if you want to send more than just this text? So if you want to send more, it's always better to create a form object. So I'm just going to say var form is equal to new form, like that, form data, like so. And then I just append this content to it. I'll just say form.append, like that. And then I'll tell it that this is the text, text, like so. That's it. Then we send the form itself, like so. So if you've got images and all that kind of thing, you can still send them exactly the same way by just giving them an ID and then send them there. This is the ID you use on the other side. Okay. Great. So now at this point, everything is set. Now we need to listen in for a result. So we must listen before, we must start listening before we actually send the data, because the data might come back earlier than we expect. So what I will do is just say ajax dot add event listener. So let's add an event listener, and we are listening for the ready state change. That's the event. Don't capitalize that. So ready state change, that's what we are listening for. And then we need to supply a function here that will run when that happens. So just put a function there, open close bracket, and then let's put some stuff here. So we can put an E there if you want to, but we may not need it. So let's say ajax dot, now the ready state changes a couple of times while this data is being sent. When we initialize this object, the state I think is 0, and then when we open it, the state is 1. When we send, it's 2 or 3, and then 4 is the one we're looking for, because that's when we know the result is back. So we can do that and say if ajax dot ready state, put a capital S there because this is JavaScript. On ready, if ajax dot ready state is equal to 4, then we know the result has come back, like that. But it's also a good idea to check for the HTTP state as well. And we're going to say ajax dot status, like that, is equal to 200. So 200 is an error, the code returned by the HTTP thing. So if wherever you're reading, whenever you're reading something, a file through HTTP, there's a status code that will be returned. So if there's an error, you see a 500, or the most famous one is 404 when a page is not found. So here we're looking for a 200, which means everything is okay. When that happens, we have a result. So results are back. So here we just need to know what to do with those results. So you can send this to another function and just say, call the function like handle result. And then what is the result we'll get? The result is going to be inside ajax.response text, like that. Okay, great. So now we need this function here that will handle the result. So I'm just going to say function handle result like that, and then the result will be here. Now the type of result we get here is highly dependent on the PHP file, whatever it sends there. Just remember that whatever we echo in this file, in the PHP file, is going to be returned as a result. Anything we echo here will be returned as a result. So the format is entirely up to you, whether it's JSON, so we're going to use JSON in this case. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so once we are done with this, what I will do is we have to find a way to activate this function. And I want to activate this function every time the text changes in here. So I'm just going to say on change like that, send get data like that. We don't need any data in here or any parameter in here because we are getting this directly from there. So one way of doing things, instead of having to get document and grab this every time, this may be cumbersome. What you could do instead is send the data right here and just say this dot value like this. Since it's just one item we are getting from here, you can just say this dot value, which means this item. Keep in mind that whatever you put inside here is JavaScript, it's valid JavaScript. So this means the control itself, dot value, and that's its value. So if we send the value in here, we can just put text over there, like so. And that's it. Then we don't need this line anymore. We can use text here, directly from there. So that's another way of doing it. But if you have multiple items to send, it's better you grab them right here, the way we're doing it the first time. Okay, so all I want to see now is a result. So I just want here to go and say console.log. I just want to get the result in the console. That's it. Now we obviously need a PHP API file, otherwise we'll get a 404 error. So let's create one. And here I will put my PHP tags because of course it's PHP. And I'll say api.php, save. So here all I want to do is echo out that result. Now since we created a form here, you see we created a form here, it means we're going to receive this data as a post variable, as a post request. Now if we didn't create this form and we sent the text directly there, then we would need to use this to get the data. So data in here will be equal to file get contents like this. File get contents, and what we use, we say PHP input like this. This is how you would get your data if you didn't create, if you just sent the text directly there. But because we created a form, this becomes a post request. So we don't use that. I'm just going to leave that for reference in case you do that. And instead, we are going to use the form. So we're going to say if post like that. So what I want to see here, let me put greater than 0 here and put this inside brackets. So what I'm looking at is the count here. Count is greater than 0, meaning there are more than one item in that array. Then I just want to echo the result in here. So echo, I know that I've sent some data in text like so. So I'm just going to echo that out. So like I said, anything you echo here will be returned as a result. So let's come back here and refresh the page and open our console by right clicking and say inspect. Click on the console. We'll see the results here. So let me type here, hello. So I'm definitely not seeing any result whatsoever, so which means there's probably a problem. Now I see it. So you see that when I left this is when it changed. When I'm typing like this, nothing, I don't get a result, but once I leave it, I get the result. So our system is working, but just working at the wrong time. So what we need to do is go back and change the event that activates this to on input instead on change. That way while we are typing, things will happen. So let me just say hello. So as you can see, it's returning the result as we go. So this is perfect. Now that we have that, all we need to do is connect to the database and get our data back. So how exactly do we connect to a database? Well, it's actually pretty easy. So let's save this to some text. I'll just call it text, like so, as usual. And now to connect to a database, what we need to do is to use, we're going to use PDO because PDO is very easy to use. So I'm just going to create a variable called connect. Actually, before I do that, let me do that. Just say new PDO, like that. PDO is great because it's universal. So let's create a connection string here. And we're going to say connection string MySQL. So first of all, you give the driver name here, and we are connecting to MySQL. So that's why I've put that. And then we're just going to say host is equal to localhost, yes, semicolon, and then we say DB name. Actually, not like that. DB name is equal to what's the database name? We haven't created the database name, so we're just going to say live search underscore DB. So you can name your database anything. We'll create the database soon enough. Then put your string here. And then let's put the username, which is root in my case, and an empty password like that. Now, this would depend on your system. If you added a username to your MySQL, you have to put it here. If you added a password, you have to put it here. But mine has the defaults, which is root. On some systems, I've been told it's also root for the password, like on MAMP. So if you're using MAMP, you may need to put root there. Okay, so once we are connected, we are connected. Now, if you want to do some error checking here, so that in case there's an error, it will show you, we can use a try catch block like this, where we just tell it to try. So you have to type it like this. This should be a PDO exception, so PDO, so that we receive information from PDO. And then let's just do that. So let's put this over here. And then in here, we're just going to echo out. Actually, let's just die here and echo out whatever is message. I think it's get message like this. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so this will echo out an error message. And so if we try and we get an error here, it will skip to that and stop executing this part. So very nice. So now that we have this try catch block and things went well, we will continue here with the connection. So read from database. So to read is very simple. We just use the connection and let's create a statement. So we're going to say result, I don't know, result is equal to connection query like this. And then we run a query in here. As simple as that. So the query we're going to have is select all from users, because we'll create a users table like that. Okay, awesome. So now that we have that, we are good to go. And then the result will be inside. This is the data, though this should have been result. So let me just say, I don't know, I'll call this one statement. I'll shortcut it like that so that I can call this one result is equal to, and then I'll say statement fetch all like this. And then I want it to fetch arrays. So I'll just say PDO. You can leave this part out if you want. It's not really important. You still get results either way. but I want to be specific on the results I want to get, which is an associative array, like so. And then now I want to return the results as JSON. So what I will do is just echo out the result and just say JSON encode. Whenever you're sending the data, you encode it. When you receive it, you decode it. So just like this. So whatever we do here, we send the result back. Nice. Now let's create our database, shall we? Okay, so copy this text that you used for your database name, and let's go to your browser and type localhost/phpMyAdmin, and then come here and click new on this side to create a new database. So let's use that same name, just paste it and type, just make sure there are no inverted commas there, create. And then let's create a table called users, create table, and let's hit go. So we're creating a table, live search DB, users. The important part is the ID, the primary key. So let's add the ID, and then let's add the column named name, and then here let's say description. So those are the columns we need. We don't need any more, just these two are enough for us. So I'll put this on int, sorry, I'll leave it on int. I'll put this on variable character and that on varchar as well. And then here the name will have a limit of 20 characters, and this one will have a limit of, I don't know, 1024 characters because it's a description. And then what I will do is go to make sure that auto increment is selected on the ID, and then it's a primary key as well. And once we are done with that, let's hit save. And then let's come back here. Now we're going to be using the name to search. So let's add an index there to speed things up. Index. Okay. It makes reading from the database faster. So once we are done with that, that's good. Let's go and insert a few records here. So the name here, just add some random names. So I'll put John. And then for the description here, we need something long. So just open loremipsum.com and just copy any text here. Really, it's dummy text, so no biggie. I'll put that there. And then here, let me add Mary. And let's put some lorem ipsum as well. Just select, take your pick on which text to copy. Let's put that there and hit go. All right, so that's the query that was run. Let's go to browse, and we have 2 records. So let's add a few more. Let me insert, and this one is Jose. Let's add some different data. Actually, it doesn't really matter. We can add the same data. Jose Peter. Let me add some data here as well. Some different data. Copy. Peter. So at least now we have 4 items, 4 people here we can search for. So let's go to browse. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can add more if you want, but we're going to be searching in the name section here. So once we have this, we are good to go. So let me see what results we get since we have the database and everything. So I'll go back here and refresh. And then I'll go to inspect the element and console here, and then start typing something here. So regardless what I type here, I should get the same results here because we're not really searching. So here it's showing me that there's a parse error, syntax error, unexpected token, try. Okay, so that is unexpected. So this is how you get your PHP errors from the other side. Just the result itself will have errors because remember, anything that is echoed in that page, in this page, the PHP page, will be returned as a result. So it's saying this is unexpected. Well, it's unexpected because I don't have a semicolon at the end there. So that should solve the problem. So let me type again, refresh, type anything again. Okay, so as you can see now, we're getting results from the database, which is awesome. Yeah, very nice. So we're getting JSON data. So what I will do is go back to the index page here, and in the handle result there, this is JSON data. So we have to convert it to JSON. I'm going to leave this. We'll need this in case we have errors. Just activate this so that you can see the errors in the console. But for now, what I want is to create a JSON object. I forget this is JavaScript, so you say obj or object is equal to, we'll use json.parse like that, and then we'll put result. Okay, so json.parse result, and this now has become an object. So once that is an object, now we can echo out the console. We'll just say console. Let's do a for loop because this object will have several items. It's an array of objects. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'll say for like that, and then obj. Actually, an object is not, it's not really an object. It's going to be an array. So this is okay, I guess. Say obj I like that, and then the key here. Okay, great. So in the console, what I want is just to get the names of these people that I have returned. So console.log like that. I'll do obj1 dot name like that. Okay, great. That's all I need for now. Now, sometimes this will not return an object, so this will return an error. So you might want to check if the content is empty or not before trying to create an object. That's entirely up to you. So let's refresh and let's try again. So as you can see now, it's returning names only, which is good. So those are the names that I want to add to this part here. So this thing in here, I don't need this class actually. So all I need to do is grab this results and then add some divs inside it like that. So I'm just going to say JS result, copy that. So what we need here is to read from there and put the names there in this loop. So let me do that just now. So we don't need to capture the item in the loop. We can do it from the outside. So I'm just going to say var result div is equal to, let's try document dot query selector, and then let's add a dot and put that there because it is a class. So here then I'm going to copy this. Let me just create a string over here. So what I will do is just say var string is equal to empty like so. Then at the very end, what I will do is say result div dot inner html is equal to whatever will be in the string. For now it's empty, but here we can add to it. So I'll just say string plus equals, and then I will add that. But of course we need to have a div. We need to put these guys inside a div for the styles to work well. So I will copy this. Let me put that there, add a plus sign. So the opening div and the closing div. In the middle, we put that. So let's give it a test run and see. So refresh. And here I will say hello. So as you can see, it's returning all the names here. Great, but we want it to search and not return everything. So let's go back here to the PHP. And then we know we have the search text here. Okay, let me copy that. Now for security reasons, you may either use a prepared statement or you can sanitize the data. So to sanitize the data, we can just say is equal to add slashes like so. and then put the text in there. And then here we'll say where name is equal to, now we'll say like so, and then put that in quotes, put wildcards there, and then I will put the text there like so. Okay. So selector from users where name like this. So why we put these wildcards here is we're telling it we don't care the what characters are before the text that we're putting here or after here. So if you want it to be that type that, for example, let me come back here. If I wanted to bring Peter, for example, I'll press P and then have it bring Peter because Peter starts with P. However, I can make it in such a way that if I put, let's say, E, it will bring both Jose and Peter because they both have E. But otherwise, I can have it search for something that starts with E. So if you don't care about how the text starts, you can do it this way. But if you care about the beginning, then you would do it this way, like so. So let's start it this way and see what happens. So I'll refresh this and let's type J. So you see everything that has J in there has been returned, E, like that, or... So now the thing is, the problem we have is when we have nothing, it brings all the results which we don't want. But before we fix that, let me remove this so you can see the difference. So I remove one wildcard there and press P, so it only brings Peter like that. E, nothing starts with E. A, nothing. M, something like that. So you can use this to determine what you want. So let me undo that. But then the important part is we don't want to send any data if there's nothing to send. So here what I will do is copy this and just tell it right here, if text dot trim, meaning remove the spaces. If without the spaces it's empty, so let me put the brackets for the if statement here. So if this is equal to an empty string like that, so I'm just going to say return. Now in JavaScript you don't need to put the brackets here if it's just one line of code, so this will work just fine. So if the text is empty, just leave the function. That's what this is. So if I refresh, and before let me type something, but then if I go back to 0, I get nothing. Like that, I get something. Okay, so that's how you get your results from here. Very good. Now the only thing is we need to be able to click here and go somewhere after we do the searching. So to do that is very simple. We just add a link to this div here. So just put an href here like this, close that, and then put the href at the end here, close the a tag over there, and then just put the link we're supposed to go to. And this one is the info.php, but then we need to know which record to get. So I'll put a question mark at the end, and then we'll just say id is equal to, and then we'll put the id there. So since the whole record is returned in this object, it's not just name, there's also an id. So here at this point I can add the id. Now there's a way to concatenate variables in JavaScript that's better than this. So what I will do is I'll put the tilde key like so. This is the key above the tab key. I don't know, it's the backtick. That's the one there. So here what I will do, if I have the backtick here, I'll put a $, put curly brackets like that, and then I can put a variable in there, and I want to put the ID like so. So now if I refresh and type something, let's bring Peter there. Now it's a link which is clickable. And if I look down here, I'll see that there's an ID of 4 there. And if I try Mary, there's an ID of 2. So this is actually gonna work. So if I click on the result, it will take me here. So let's design that real quick before so we can finish up. So if I go to the info page, I can just add some HTML here and just type info. And then here we're going to read the data that has come back. Let me use the form styling. Actually, let me put a div here. I'm just going to give it a class of form. That way I can get the class that I have here for form and put it there. In fact, I need both of these. Let me just copy all that up to here and paste it there. Close the style and then put a dot here that makes it a class. And then all I need now is to read some data from here. So I'm going to use PHP instead directly here to read a particular thing. So we already have something here that works to read from the database. So I'm just going to copy everything in here. Copy that up to here. Come back to the info page and paste it here. Like so. Now we don't need to echo the result. This result is enough as it is. The only thing is, like, now instead of where name, we're going to use where ID is equal to, because we have a very specific ID. So I'm just going to do this ID and then tell it to limit to one result. And then I just want to be sure that my ID is sanitized here. So I'll replace any text over here with ID. Instead of add slashes, because I know I'm expecting an integer, I'll just put int like that. That's a better way to protect from hacking. Okay, so far so good. ID now here we're getting this from the get variable and not the post. So let's just do that. Here we can just check if this is set in particular. So I'm just going to say if is set the get variable. Like so, ID, that's great. Then we connect and then we read and then we get the result. So now if we do have the result here, I'm just going to check if, we'll just check if this is set at all. Let me put my PHP tags here. Say if is set the result, and the result, and is array result. Then we'll put full colon there, close it, and then of course put some more PHP tags and put end if. Now the reason I'm using this is because I want to use HTML here and not echo it out like PHP. So I will put this here. I can put an else statement here as well. So else, but put a full colon there and just say div. We're going to say sorry, that record was not found, like that. Otherwise, the record was found. So let's add a name. Let me just put a div here. Just add a name like so. And then info. Details like that. So here the name is result. Copy that. We'll need PHP tags. I'll put an equal sign as a shortcut to echo out. So result, and this is an array, so that is name. Close that, and I'll do exactly the same thing here on the next one. I don't remember the second param here. It's description. Okay, good. Very nice. So let's come back here and see what happens if I refresh the page. Okay, so we have a warning here saying undefined key name. Okay, so it's very expected, because once we get a result here, if the result is an array, we only need the first item in the array. So maybe let me just do it directly here and put a 0 there before this part so that we get the first record. Refresh, and there we go. So we have Mary and we have details here. Let me just put a break tag here to give some gap between the two. And I think I will need the same break tag over here. Okay, so we have name, Mary, and details. If I go back and let's try Peter, and there we go, Peter's details. Good. But we want this to disappear when we are not searching here. So I want this to go away once this is blurred. So let me go to my index page here real quick, and we'll put an event here on this input. So we're going to use the on blur. So I'm going to say on blur like that. So what that means is that when it loses the focus. So here we'll call hide results, like so. So hide results on blur, and on focus, show results, right? Like this. So we have two functions here, which will be kind of similar. So let me get here and say function show results. So what we do with this show results, all we need is to get the result div, copy that and put it here, and then let's just change its display. So we're just going to say result div dot style. Now what we can do is just add a class to it. I can just say dot class list. This is much better to do it this way. Dot class list dot add dot remove hide, like that. So what I'm telling it here is that check the class list and remove any class that is named hide, like so. We're going to create that class just now. It's very simple. And this one is hide results. And here, instead of removing it, we're going to be adding it. It's that simple. So let's go up here and create that class. So dot hide, and then we'll just say display none. That's it. So to start with, we don't want this to show, so we're just going to add the hide class there as well. Okay, so I refresh. We can still see it. So how is that possible? There's hide here. Display none. What is going on? Let's see here. Is there a display somewhere in here? No, we're not using that at all. Okay, so let me see if any of these is interfering. I'm just going to change the names of those. And yeah, it seems one of them is interfering. So let me undo that to see. It's not that one. Results. Yeah, that one is interfering. This one right there. So what is on this that is interfering? Let's see. Border. Okay, I see. But usually the style that comes later is the one that takes precedence. So I don't know why this is doing that. Okay, so if you're facing this kind of a problem, I don't really know why this is happening here. Changing the order of the classes wouldn't do much. So what I can do instead is just add a style and just say display none there, because the inline styles are always respected regardless. So what I will do here let me refresh. Okay, so you see there it is respected. So instead what I would do, I'll remove this and say .style .display is equal to none. This will do exactly the same thing, and same thing here. Let's put this in this one where we want to hide it. This is where we put the none, but where we want to show it, we put the default, which is block. So refresh. Oh, I see what's happening. So there wasn't really a problem there. Let me undo all this. Sorry about that. I think I know what's happening. It's because we have autofocus on. So the moment we switch this on, it's activated. So let's remove the autofocus for now. Refresh. Okay, there we go. So once I click here, that's when I see that. Or what would be better is, let me put back the autofocus. What would be better is to have this be shown only when we get some results. So instead of on focus here, let me remove that. I'm going to put the show when we get some results there, and I only know if we have some results at this point. So here, so I will put it there like so, show results like that. So refresh, everything good until I type Peter, John. Okay, at least now when this is empty like this, I don't want it to show. So what I can do though is just to check if this is a valid let's see what we get when we don't get a result. So if I type here and don't get a result, I get nothing in there. There's no, let me see here, let me just say console.log the object. Okay, so I will refresh. In fact, the result, let me do result. So what I want now is to just copy this, paste it there, and type that. So I get an empty array there. Okay, so I know the result is an empty array if there is nothing. So I can ask the question here, if obj dot length is greater than 0, then show results. Else we hide the result. Like so. So let's come back here. Hopefully this is the final tweak. So let me type something here. You see, like that. Okay, so I see. Okay, so somewhat it's working as intended. Once we start typing, we get the results we want. And if we get the result that we want, why is it bringing John here? This doesn't make any sense. Jose. Oh, okay, because of that S there. Okay, I get it. All right, and also if you wanted to start only bringing results once you have 3 or more text here, you can do the same and do a return here and say what do we do here? You can put an if statement to make sure that the length here dot length, like that. If the length is greater than 2, no, if it's less than 2, then you return something like this. So here it will not try to find anything like that until we get to a certain point. Okay, so it's entirely up to you. You can customize it to your liking, and then finally you can click on, let's see, John. Oops, things are not working out. What's happening? So I'm guessing this issue is based on the on blur, because once I click here, then I have blurred this part there, so which means this disappears as well. So it could be that. So let me just remove this. I guess both of these were a bad idea. This right here will suffice right there. Okay, so let me refresh and let's try again and click. Okay, now it's working just fine. Okay, so hopefully I hope you have learned something new here on how to connect to a database. That's number one, and how to send data to PHP on the server from your index file here and search in real time. And also you have learned something about SQL queries and searching. Okay, so I will see you in another video.